So I just wanted to share this with you all. There's within the last month or so, there's been some suspicious looking mail delivered to the the place where I live. Now, what's happened within the past month is I've changed the address on my driver's license, so now it's official that I live here. I had to do that because you have to renew your photo after a certain amount of years, so they kind of forced my hand really to kind of change my address. I wasn't going to because I don't use my driving licence anymore. I don't have any use for it, and I don't really plan on driving again. But they kind of forced my hand, because it's the only ID that I have. So I changed that. So those with access to police computers, bent coppers and such, and access to the DVLA website and such things, they will have my address. Although they had it anyway, but it just makes it kind of easier for them to say that they weren't following me or stalking me. They got it in an official capacity, Anyway, as well as they changed my address, I've changed my address with the bank again. It's a lot of. I'm sure you all know, you're not stupid, that a lot of bank officials, bank managers take part in this targeting programme. It's participated in by all sorts, especially the upper echelons of society. I'll also show you what I've done in the past month, which maybe explains why these suspicious letters, these suspicious mail have been coming. So go into my not my Facebook, my page. So there we go. So we're in my shorts, as you can see. So going from the top, we can see the amount of views. There's 12 views, there's 27 views, there's 16 views, there's 18 views, there's 23. Oh, there's 92! 92 when you start naming solicitors. Isn't that interesting? So, when you start naming the people that are involved in the targeting as well, not just the solicitors, but also the kind of criminals involved in it. It's these weird mail things have started occurring. So I'll show you an example. Don't just forget the title of this album. That's not relevant in the slightest. So hopefully you can see that. That's a bit of mail that got delivered here within the past, I would say, 2 weeks. For someone named Raymond Vickery. Now, I've lived at this address for 10 months. There's never been any mail previously for Raymond. There's no one lives here with the pseudonym Raymond, I know all their pseudonyms. There's 4 of them and I know them all. I'll show you them all. I'm going to show you them all at some point in the near future. None of their pseudonyms are Raymond, by the way, Raymond Vickery. So this arrived a couple of weeks ago. So as you can see, it says Raymond Vickery. And then in brackets it says Smart 726L. And you can see on the envelope here we've got private and confidential, a picture of a key, and then you've got Mental Health Awareness Week on the stamp. Of course you have. It kind of fits in with the I'm crazy targeting, doesn't it? So the Mental Health Awareness Week is the 12th to the 18th of May. And then you've got Royal Mail, Gatwick Mail Centre. And then it says the 17th of the 4th, 06, 2006. We're now in 2025. And the numbers above and below the date are non-visible. It's not just my rubbishy camera. It's actually smudged. It's purposefully smudged so that you can't track it because, it's a made up envelope. They're sending these things. They're making them up to try and frighten me. I'll tell you why. So, I went to school with I'm indoors because it's very, very windy. I've tried to do this outside and it's very, very windy. So I'm indoors and I'm sharing my screen. I'm not actually taking a video. So there we have, hopefully you can see my writing, Raymond Vickery. Now there was 2 people I went to school with who are both now deceased. And we can make their names out of Raymond Vickery, this anagram of Raymond Vickery, this imaginary person named Raymond Vickery who doesn't exist, by the way. So 2 people I went to school with who are dead. So we've got Rory. This isn't the way you spell his name, but they don't care for perfect spelling, these people. So we've got Ronnie. D. His name is Ronnie Dugan. And then out of the remaining letters, hopefully you can see that. Out of the remaining letters, we've got Vicky. Ray M. So you can see that we've got VICKYRAEM. And her name was Vicky Ray Miller. I went to school with both of these people. I was in the same class as them at school. Oh, of course, we've got the 726L. Now that kind of puzzled me for a little while, but then I think I've actually worked it out. You know, the 7th letter of the alphabet is G, and then you've got B, and then you've got F, and then of course you've got L. So going by my reckoning, you know, I'm not the smartest kid in the school, but I think I would have a suspicion that that stands for gone but forever loved. You know, you can tell me what you think. Well, you can't because my comments are off because of cunts, but, you know, I'm sure you'll agree with me. Gone but forever loved. I don't know what the smart bit, I'll maybe work that out eventually. So I went to school with both of these people. Ronnie Dugan was shot. Let me show you. He was murdered in 2006. April 2006. Now, what was the let's see, gunned down as children played. Jobless Ronnie Dugan was gunned down in a gangland style attack as children played just yards away. The 25-year-old was blasted twice in the chest at point blank range, died in hospital. As police began a hunt for his murderer, locals in Cumbernauld spoke of their horror. Blah blah blah. Ronnie lived with his mother and sister. Ronnie was known to be a bit of a fighter, but you have to be like that round here because there are always fights. Okay. He was known as a bit of a wide boy, but certainly never considered to be bad or nasty. Anyway, what's that? Is it called the Fifth Amendment? I reserve my right to silence on that matter about what type of person he was. Now, like I said, I went to school with both of these people. I was in the same year at school as them. So that happened on, let me just go back. That happened on, this article came out April 8th, 2006. And this article came out the day after. So he was murdered on April the 7th, 2006. So let's look at that date again, shall we? See that? They've fucked up the date a little bit because it says the 17th of April 2006. So they've messed it up a bit. It wasn't the 17th, it was the 7th of April 2006. But you kind of get my point. You get my point here, don't you? I went to school with both of them. He was shot dead in 2006. And Vicky Miller, who was friends with him, committed suicide later on. Now, like I said, I went to school with both of them. I didn't know him. I didn't get on with him. I didn't mix within his group. But I know that after he died, I was in contact with another girl that I was in the same year at school as I was friends with. Her name is Jennifer Stephen. Well, her name at school was Jennifer Stone. Her name now is Jennifer Stephen. Her husband's called Michael Stephen, and they're both Police Scotland. They're both serving police officers in Ayrshire, the Ayrshire area of Scotland. So Jennifer Stephen and Michael Stephen. And she emailed me shortly after, probably around about the 17th actually, of April, and said, did you hear that Ronnie Dugan, you know, this kid we went to school with, got shot and killed? And I replied something along the lines of, I mean, it's no fucking so what, you know what I mean? The guy was a bit of a prick or whatever. You know, I said something probably really disparaging, thinking it was a private email between me and her, but it wasn't. You know, these people had told all my emails, even at this time, I was being targeted and everything I was doing was being looked upon, you know. So this got shared with all them and didn't make their little the criminals very happy. Vicky, like I said, I was in her year at school. We were kind of friends at school, not really close friends, but we were friends. And then later on, when I left the army and I moved back to Cumbernauld, we kind of got in touch again, but through Facebook. And at that time, weirdly, she was seeing this guy who I had been in the army with. He was a chef at one of the barracks I was based at abroad. Just this fucking random guy who wasn't from our town and then just happened to be friends with, who be in a relationship with this girl that I'd went to school with. You know, it was such a fucking weird situation. Then later on, you know, she ended the relationship with him, and then, you know, years and years later, we'd lived in the same town, but we'd never met up with each other or been we'd kind of stayed in touch through Facebook, but not in person. And then years later, we kind of we'd seen each other a few times, socialised a few times, and it never really came to anything. But anyway, when we started socialising, she told me she was in a relationship with this guy, and his name was Nori. So again, I mean, the directed conversation and the anagrams of the people's names, obviously, it got about by this point. This is maybe 10 years. This is maybe 2016. We're talking 2017. It had gotten about by at this point, that I'd sent this email because it's been shared around, this Jennifer Stone, this Jennifer Stephen and the police are connected with the criminal family in Scotland, who I don't want to name because they'll probably shoot me. So yeah, it got about. So she told me she was in a relationship with Nori, and the name Ronnie gets used a lot. People will tell me, "Oh, I was just up in Norfolk visiting," or "I was in Norway. I'm going to trip to Norway," or I went to the Ronda Valley, or "I was in Ronda in Spain." It gets used all the time, continuously around me. I'm not really sure. I don't really get it, but like I said, sorry, I think I might have said, I didn't say. Vicky killed herself. I don't know how many years ago. It's again, I wasn't a part of her life at the time, but they'll kind of bring her name up quite a lot in my targeting because after us, like I said, we were kind of friendly for a little while, and then we just she wasn't my type of person, we'd been friends as kids, but as an adult, she wasn't my cup of tea, really. So we kind of drifted apart, and then later she tried to give me her number, and I never got in contact with her, So they kind of use it that I ghosted her, she killed herself because she had no one, and I ghosted her, so I'm a terrible person, And obviously I'm responsible for Ronnie's death because I said bad stuff about him after he died, You know what I mean? This warped view that they have of the weird world that they inhabit. But yeah, I thought I'd just share that with you. It's I find it quite interesting, their little tactics that they use. So yeah, gone but forever loved apparently, but still being used to target me. So there we go. That's interesting. I'm sure they're enjoying themselves whoever they are. Rah! Like some kind of wild cat. Anyway, take care. God bless. Bye bye.